Hi guys, in this episode of Plummy's Thoughts On, I'm gonna be sharing my thoughts on the 14th episode of the 11th and final season of one of my favorite shows ever, The Walking Dead. The episode's name is called The Rotten Core, and yeah, that's a pretty good descriptor for this episode, all things considered. And I also want to say that the trend for this second third of this season continues, with this episode being supremely enjoyable from the beginning to the end. There's only one part of it which was a little weak for me, but it's minor. It's minor. It's just it kind of prevents it from being a 10 out of 10 episode and more like a 9 or so out of 10. I'm gonna talk about that rating at the end of this video as usual, but all in all, it was a really enjoyable episode, and it was honestly the first episode in this second third or even this whole season where I've actually been like shocked about something. Maybe I was shocked in some of the episodes in the first third, I honestly don't remember at this point, but I haven't been this shocked in a bit for sure. And the thing that shocked me was the goddamn reveal after reveal about Negan, which honestly I already predicted that it was going to be the case, that Annie was going to be Negan's wife and that they were going to be actually together. Well, I didn't predict that they were going to be married. I predicted that she was going to be a love interest for him because of the way they were shown in the trailers. But I definitely did not see Negan having a kid coming. Like, wow, that is so different from the comic books, and it really begs the question, how the fuck are they gonna do any of the goddamn spin-offs? Because, like, 3 out of the 4 characters that are confirmed for the spin-offs, Daryl, Carol, Maggie, and Negan, are gonna have kids by the end of this. The only one not having kids is gonna be Carol. Because, like, Daryl takes care of RJ and Judith, and potentially could have kids with Connie if they actually get together. Negan is gonna have a kid. Maggie has a kid. Like, what? How are they going to deal with that shit? Are they gonna have the kids in the spin-offs? Doubt it. Are they gonna leave them behind at the Commonwealth? I'm not sure how receptive the fanbase is gonna be to that, because people have hated Michonne for leaving her kids behind, which, personally, I feel like they've justified it enough. Although the more time that passes without Michonne showing up again, the less believable it becomes. Like, some people have that issue with Rick not showing up for like 8 years or whatever. But I don't really have that. But I definitely have it for Michonne not showing up. Unless she turned out to be dead, obviously. Same for Rick. But I don't think they're gonna go that direction. So, yeah, I don't know. But this was a supremely entertaining episode through and through. And I don't even know where to start. I guess let's just first start off with the fact that I've noticed something about the couples in this show in the last few seasons. And it's really funny how I was thinking about it like a week ago after I watched the episode, because right now it's Thursday, March 24th. That I'm recording this video. Like right after watching the episode on Sunday, I was thinking about the fact that every couple in the last like 3 seasons has been a biracial couple, or interracial, should I say? I think is the word for it. And it's kind of crazy how it keeps happening. And don't get me wrong, I don't mind it. I don't care about it. I'm not some conservative retard who complains about black people or whatever. It doesn't bother me or anything. It's just funny to me how that seems to be the case, because once is normal, twice is a coincidence, 3 times is a fucking pattern. So they're definitely intentionally making it. At least it seems like that's the case. Because, like, there's Rick and Michonne all the way back in season 6. There was even Glenn and Maggie, if you want to count them like that, all the way back in season 2 even. There's, I mean, Daryl and Connie, interracial. Rick and Michonne interracial, Ezekiel and Carol interracial, Gabriel and Rosita interracial. Now we also had the tease for Elijah and Lydia, which again is interracial. And again, it doesn't bother me. I just want to point it out because it's kind of funny to me that it keeps happening. Because like, what was the last white couple? I guess you could say Leah and Daryl maybe, or Lydia and Henry. But yeah, pretty much all the couples are interracial, and that's definitely gonna bug some people. Personally, it doesn't bother me; it's just funny to me. And it's what is even funnier is, like I said, I thought about this a week ago, and then I think like yesterday I saw somebody point the same shit out on Reddit. So I guess great minds think alike, huh? I mean, I feel like it just becomes blatant. I think it's because it becomes kind of blatant with Negan also having a black wife. Because, like, Rick and Michonne, there's Daryl and Connie, and I feel like, I guess, it just becomes very, very obvious with this. And again, I want to make this clear, I don't care at the end of the day, it doesn't bother me in any way, shape, or form. I think this show has actually handled non-white characters amazingly, you know? It's I've never for a second been bothered or thought about their race in any way outside of this, obviously. Yeah, it's just really interesting that seems to be the case. It keeps happening. But yeah, all in all, this was such a fun episode, and I don't really want to go through with it and just recap everything to say, oh, I like this, I like this, I like this. I just want to say it was, again, one of those episodes like episode 10, episode 12, where we had a lot of stories happening in these episodes and everybody's characters getting developed and stuff. It was just really entertaining. I liked the Daryl and Rosita stuff the least, especially because of the introduction of this random April character who ended up dying. If at least she had a little bit more of a role, it would have been just fine, but she literally is there to tell us information and to die. And I still recognize her usefulness in the plot. Like, it makes sense why she is there, so it's not like one of those cases where I feel like they just shoved in a random nobody just to kill them, like how they did, I believe it was in episode 7, where there was this random mother with a kid and a father who was met by Daryl and Leah, and they had to put the mother down. Like, that felt forced for no reason whatsoever. In this case, it's kind of a similar thing, but at least in this case, it feels like it's earned. And I also really liked in the sequence there where Daryl was killing walkers, he got a bat and he smacked, I think, like 2 walkers with it. And he immediately drops it afterwards as if he's like, what have I done? I've turned into Negan. And it was just really funny to me there. I really liked that sequence. It was really satisfying. Like, all in all, this episode was satisfying in a way that the action in this episode was satisfying in a way that it hasn't been satisfying in a little bit, at least. Because I really, really enjoyed it. So there's the Daryl and Rosita stuff. I really liked Mercer getting down those 2 fucks. I definitely saw that coming with his facial expressions. The actor for Mercer, he's amazing. I really like him a lot. And with this episode, I feel like he grew on to me even more. Sebastian, piece of shit, but goddamn is he a good actor and satisfying to watch. Well, I wouldn't say necessarily satisfying, but I love to hate him, is what I'm trying to say. And I love the scene in the beginning where he asks Daryl to confirm how badass Sebastian is, and Daryl is like, yeah, good stuff. And it's really funny. I really like that. I honestly got really suspicious the second those soldiers asked for Daryl and Rosita to go with them. I thought that maybe Sebastian wanted to punish Daryl for what he just did right off the bat, but it turned out to not really be the case. He wanted to use them and maybe potentially get rid of them if that ends up happening, but it wasn't his primary goal. So yeah, that is that. On the other side of things with the plot, I guess we also have a little bit of Carol, so let's go through that quickly. She ends up getting Mercer to save Daryl and Rosita because he doesn't show up for a lunch. And I really love the scene at the end of the episode where she talks to Hornsby about what just happened. And when she realizes what a piece of shit Hornsby is and how he does not value life, I just love that we get that iconic Carol smile where you know you're gonna die soon. Because afterwards, after she turns around, her smile disappears. Like, that's the best Carol. I love her. I love her when she's like that. I personally never really hate her, but she's definitely amazing when she is like this, where like when she is a force for good like this. I love it. But then we obviously have the main part of the plot, which is with that building and Toby, the CIA assassin, killing everybody in that place. Yeah, we got quite a lot of really interesting interactions in that whole thing. Right off the bat, with Negan showing up from behind the curtains when Maggie and Aaron happen to show up in the exact same room that they were hiding in. A little convenient, but I really liked it. How in that scene, it was one pointing a gun at another, then another at another, and then Elijah with his sights at Annie's neck. It really kind of recreated, in my opinion, that awesome meme where you have people, I think in like a theater or something, one sitting in the front, somebody behind them with a gun, somebody behind that person with a gun, somebody on the balcony behind with a gun, and I think somebody even further back with a gun. It felt like that very much in that sequence. And all the interactions in that whole scene were really great. All the bickering between Aaron, Gabriel, and Negan, and all the dialogue there was great. The reveal that Negan was married was great. I liked Lydia's line that the Commonwealth is just like the Whisperers, it's just that they're wearing different kind of masks. It was really nice. And then it turned out that Negan has a kid. Which I actually was worried that in that scene there, either Maggie was maybe gonna hurt Annie. At least that's what definitely Negan was worried about. But I was worried about maybe Annie not knowing what Negan did and Maggie ending up telling her. But no, it turns out that Annie did know what Negan did, and she thinks that he has gotten better about it, and that he hasn't forgotten it, and that he regrets it. And I actually like that. And talking about that, I really want to kind of quickly talk about the fandom again, as if that's not something that I really talk about a lot in these reviews of the Walking Dead universe. But both on Reddit and on Twitter, I see people complaining that people are okay with Negan. Asking, how the fuck are you okay with Negan? He killed Glenn. Yeah, and so fucking what? First of all, this is a fictional show. We don't have to apply the exact same standards we would apply to the real world. Even if the show is trying to be very grounded and realistic, which The Walking Dead definitely does. Second of all, it's not like our characters are saints. Like, I feel like some people really go out of their way to ignore the grayness that the show tries to portray our characters in, and it just goes for the black and white. Like, just because you're following these characters doesn't mean that they're the good guys. We saw that in Fear the Walking Dead. But more so, just because they are supposedly the good guys or the main characters doesn't mean that every action they did was right. In no way is what our characters did at that satellite outpost, it wasn't right. Even if we try to argue that it was killing them so they wouldn't kill us, we still weren't really involved in fighting the Saviors. Yeah, probably we would have met the Saviors sooner or later, but we weren't involved in that situation. So we had no justification to attack them. It's kind of like America going to attack Iraq, even though Iraq, if I remember correctly, didn't have anything to do with 9/11. That kind of thing. Like, even if in a way, you would be justified because you're taking out a bad guy that is a threat to you, doesn't mean you're justified in going in and killing everybody. And even Negan made that point the first third of the season, which I kind of understand that scene now much better and what they're trying to do with it. They're not saying that Negan believes that what he did back then was right, but he thinks that what he did was justified considering the situation. And hell, He now thinks that they probably got off easy considering how many people how many of his people killed, and how much of a pain in the ass they were later on. Doesn't mean that he thinks that was the right thing to do, but from the perspective of him being a leader back then who had to take care of his people, it makes sense for him to say that if he went back in time, he would have killed all of them, because that's what one leader should do to protect the people he cares about, which, even if they were shitheads, if they were pieces of shit and everything, he was still a leader. And like, again, I'm not trying to say those saviors were like saints, or they were good, or they didn't deserve to die. That still was not up to our characters to decide. So, what I'm trying to say with this is that Negan killing Glenn is not as morally reprehensible as people are trying to make it out to be, or should I say, unforgivable, or irredeemable. You only feel that way because you like Glenn's character, or Abraham's, let's not forget him. That's the only reason why you feel that way, that you cannot like Negan, and nobody should like Negan, because if you like Negan, you're a psychopath. No, I like Glenn. If I watch through the show and get to that scene, I hate Negan in that scene for killing Glenn. But that doesn't mean that Negan can't change and that he's irredeemable. He very much is. And people try to use the argument that, oh, he was enjoying it, so that means he's a psychopath, he doesn't get to be redeemed. But how can you know that he enjoyed it? Just because he was smiling and he was screwing around during that situation? That is a way to intimidate. Your enemy seeing that you enjoy punishing them and hurting them is intimidating them. It makes them more fearful of you. And sure, maybe part of him genuinely enjoyed being in power and punishing people and being submissive to them like that. But let's not act as if Rick didn't enjoy killing some people either. The most obvious two that he enjoyed killing was Gareth, who in a way, yeah, deserved it, but Rick definitely enjoyed that. He even joked about it. Both when he was tied up by Garrett and then when he had Garrett kneeled in front of him. And there's also the character of Bob, the cop from that Grady Memorial Hospital, I think it was, who was running away. Rick was following him with a police car, and then he ended up hitting him and breaking his back. And then when Bob was calling him out for killing him mercilessly like this, Rick said with a little bit of a smile, "You just had to stop." So Rick also has enjoyed it on some level, even if they didn't want to admit it or they didn't like enjoying it, they enjoyed it. But that doesn't mean that Negan is irredeemable. That does not make him irredeemable. And then people also try to use the wives as if that is also irredeemable. I don't really want to get into that because people are gonna end up calling me out as like a rape apologist or whatever, just because I don't think what Negan was doing with the wives was rape per se. I still think it was wrong and fucked up, but I don't really consider it rape. And again, I want to point out, just because I feel like that for the TV show doesn't mean that I apply the same logic to real life. So, fuck off with that. But, again, that does not make him irredeemable. Just because he had a bunch of hookers who had the right to consent, even if it was a little bit under pressure, they had the right to either be wives or not be wives. Nobody forced them per se to be wives. They had some different choices. It's not unlike being forced into being a prostitute just because you can't make money any other way. To me, at least that's how I see it. So that is also a moot point about Negan being irredeemable. And I went a little bit of a tangent. I pretty much honestly even forgot what I was trying to say there. But the point is, Negan is not irredeemable. And I feel like even Maggie is starting to see that because he regrets, as we see in the scene where he interacts with Herschel, he regrets killing Glenn, feels bad about it, especially now that he is gonna have a kid of his own. He doesn't want to suffer the same fate, or his kid to suffer the same fate that he uh, put her show through. And yeah, I feel like that might be part of the reason of the reconciliation between Maggie and Negan that is going to be necessary for them to go on a spin-off together. But we'll see where that's going to go. And yeah, I think that's mostly everything. I guess we also have to cover the ending of the episode where they kill Toby. And I gotta say, this was one of the most satisfying deaths in a while, man. I just loved everything about it. I love the plan that they used to trick Toby to go to the rooftop, and then Elijah shows up in the back, slicing to the Commonwealth soldiers, and then Aaron gets the gun, and right as Toby is walking towards him, he just, without hesitation, just shoots the gun so satisfyingly, and essentially pushes Toby off the roof, who falls down the same way he killed all those people, and that he gets eaten. It's just such a satisfying sequence of events, and that's why that is the thumbnail for this video, because I love that scene. It was so goddamn satisfying. All in all, this episode is satisfying in every way possible. I really, really enjoyed this one. It was a really good episode in my opinion. Might be one of the, I mean, it's definitely one of the best of the season, but might be the best of the season. Which is why I'm actually going to give this one, this episode, a rating of like, I kind of want to give it a 9.9 out of 10. Maybe a little bit too high, because the only issue that I have with this episode is, like I said, the inclusion of April, which felt like a little forced, but it still made sense more than it usually does, so it doesn't bother me too much. But it was a really good episode, so I don't know. Let's just go through the notes that I have for this episode, which is kind of unusually long, like this whole thing and this. Like, this is probably the longest note I've written, period, and definitely for The Walking Dead. That just goes to show how fun of an episode this was, you know? So yeah, let's start it off with the first note that I've written. Damn, that is brutal. And I'm pretty sure that is in relation to the opening of the episode, where we see the people who are thrown off the roof down on the ground below, seeing their bodies and everything. It definitely looked brutal. I like that they showed us that, because I really didn't like the CGI in the last episode, so seeing it with the actual people on the ground definitely made so did better. Next thing I've written is a little bit of a touchy subject, but let's go through it. Jesus Christ, they are massacring them. It feels wrong watching this while also watching the war in Ukraine. And yeah, this is a little bit of like an outside thing that I'm mentioning here, but as I was watching the episode and seeing all these people and hearing their screams and how they're being killed with gunfire and everything, it just felt like in bad taste watching. It felt in bad taste to watch The Walking Dead, as brutal of a show as it is, while at the same time following the events and the suffering of Ukrainians because of Putin's invasion of Ukraine. It just felt wrong. Next thing I've written is, I love Daryl and Rosita being cops together. I love that they've given them a much closer relationship this season, because they've definitely had this thing on and off, with like working together in season 6, then I think it was in season 8, and now again they're working together. It's pretty cool. And I like that Rosita has more of a role than just a love interest, so there's that as well. Next thing I've written is, I don't trust those soldiers. And I already went through that. I didn't trust those soldiers that go right after Rosita and Daryl leave the police station after mocking Sebastian. I instantly felt like it was suspicious. And again, like I said earlier, the cycle continues. This is a fun episode already. And it's true. So that means that next episode, episode 15, I'm probably not going to enjoy, but it also seems like it's going to be interesting, so who knows. Oh, and I also completely forgot. Leah shows up back at the end of the episode. It was her who killed the Commonwealth soldiers that we saw walking in last episode. Which, duh, makes sense, but I'm really curious, how is she going to play a role into this, because the shot that we get in the trailer of her is the shot that we get at the end of this episode. So we don't really know where and when is she gonna face off against Maggie. Although, as somebody on the Walking Dead subreddit pointed out, there's a couple of shots of, or should I say, one shot of Maggie with like a bloody jacket that we still haven't seen, and it has to happen in the next 2 episodes, and I think it's probably gonna be the mid-season finale. That it's gonna feature that. So maybe she's gonna attack Hilltop or something, I don't know. But yeah, most of the shots that we haven't seen yet from the trailer are going to happen in the next episode, it seems like. Next thing I've written is, I think they will try to kill Dario and Rosita. Again, because I thought that maybe Sebastian wanted Dario dead for what he just did. Because it just fits his character. Next thing I've written is, this is definitely set up for shooting Judith by Sebastian. What have I written? This is definitely set up for shooting, shooting Judith by Sebastian. So I guess what I mean here is that the sentence, the lines that Sebastian has when he asks Rosita and Dario to go and get the money from the place, from the safe, and he threatens their kids. It's probably set up for the fact that he's probably going to end up hurting them as a way to adapt that scene from the comic book. And I think that's what they're probably going to do. It's either that or they're going to have Herschel shoot Negan, which we had in this episode, him threatening to shoot Negan, but he didn't do it, so I don't know if they're actually gonna go for it. And yeah, there's a ton of notes on this second page, so let's just rapid fire through them. Negan's married. Called it. Yeah, I did. I don't know if I mentioned it in the video, but I definitely thought of it in my head, and I'm pretty sure I should have mentioned it. I must have mentioned it. I love the interactions with Aaron and Gabe versus Negan. Like, all of those interactions there with, like, Aaron being such a petty bitch. I love it. Like, he doesn't give a fuck anymore, and I love it so much. Him and Gabriel have become so jaded. Especially compare what they are now to what they used to be in, like, season 5. Like, I don't even see them as the same people anymore. Next thing I've written is, she doesn't know what Negan did, which I already mentioned, and yes, she actually did know that. And I've also written Whisperer's mask as a reference to what Lydia said, where she says that the Commonwealth is just like the Whisperers, it's just them wearing different masks. Herschel, what the fuck, is the next thing I've written. Because I was shocked, why the fuck was Herschel there? And why the hell do our main character's kids never stay in the goddamn house? Next thing I've written is, Negan has a kid. Excuse me? Because I genuinely did not expect that. Like, that kind of came out of left fucking field. It's cool though. It's not from the comic book, it's show original. And it's an interesting prospect, so yeah, I'm up for that. Next thing I've written is, man, this episode is insane, which definitely is because of my heightened emotional state after getting that reveal. Next thing I've written is, I hope we get Negan to apologize to Maggie. I feel like before the show's end, we need to have Negan apologize to Maggie. And I know that that's not going to be enough, and it's not going to fix anything, it's not going to bring Glenn back to life, but I really, really wish to actually hear him say that to her. I feel like we're kind of building up to that. Next thing I've written is, I knew Herschel was going to pick the gun. I definitely figured that he was going to pick up the gun once they started talking. And I gotta say, the other episodes, Herschel's actors seemed at least good enough. But in that scene with Negan, he was so bad. Like, that scene was definitely carried by Jeffrey Dean Morgan alone. He was so bad. I don't know, maybe it was bad direction, but I really didn't like his acting in that scene. Which is a shame, because it needed to be good for the scene to be good, but I still think it was good enough, because Jeffrey Dean Morgan is an amazing actor. And seeing him kind of break down afterwards, because again, he thinks to the fact that he took away Herschel's dad from him. And now that he is a dad himself, or at least will be a dad, he doesn't want that to happen to his kid. Next thing I've written is Daryl with a baseball bat. And I already mentioned that, so I'm not going to really say anything in addition to that. Okay, so the next thing I've written is No, you won't be fine, Rosita. Which is in relation to the fact that when they were saving April from that safe room and they were going to be getting out of the room, Rosita gave her armor to April, and she said that she was going to be fine, which, if you say something like that in the zombie apocalypse, it usually means that it's going to be bad. You're probably going to die. And I was worried about her, but she survived this episode at least. Next thing I've written is some really cool zombie action, which, like I said, there was some really good zombie action in this episode. Some really good, cool fights with Daryl versus a bunch of walkers when he was trying to turn on the electricity. And then when Mercer and Carol showed up and they were shooting the walkers and everything. And we actually even got a few cool swings from Mercer with his axes. Although I gotta say, we don't really get much like that. Like I've said, I don't know why The Walking Dead is kind of cheapening on that. Why do we not really get actual proper kills? Because yeah, we actually got to see a little bit of it, but it still wasn't the center of attention like it should have been. Next thing I've written is Karma is a bitch. Best Aaron kill ever. And it's definitely the best kill that we've gotten from Aaron. I don't even know what other kill he has. I guess the another one that really springs to my mind is when they were attacking the satellite outpost and he stabbed one of the saviors in the heart and said, if it wasn't us, it was gonna be you. Or the opposite, I don't know. But this was very satisfying to see this guy fall down and die in a very similar way to how he killed the rest of the other people, and the fact that they were the ones to eat him once he fell on the ground, and that it was Aaron who did that because he was his boss. Next thing I've written, damn Mercer, to the fact in relation to the fact that he killed those two soldiers, which, by the way, one of those soldiers bared a striking resemblance to Martinez from the governor's group, which I don't know if it's intentional, but I like it. It definitely adds a little more depth, and it's definitely one of the reasons why I had like a spidey sense about them being bad guys or being a threat to be dealt with. I honestly cannot read what the hell I've written. I think I've written Mercer begging. What? I have no idea what the hell I've written. Oh! I got it. I've written, man, her begging not to be killed was brutal. And that is in relation to the fact that at the end of the episode we have Leah, who is revealed to have killed those Commonwealth soldiers. And we have one of the soldiers, a female, dragging herself across the ground and screaming a bloody murder about not wanting to die. And the way she screamed, it was kind of visceral, and it really kind of hit me. Again, just like in the beginning, seeing those, hearing those people's screams as they are being massacred, kind of hit me because of what I've been following with the war in Ukraine. It kind of, for the same reason, really kind of hit home. And yeah, that's pretty much all I've written about this episode. Really fun episode, and I feel like at this point we are far enough from the beginning of season of season 11 that I'm actually realizing how entertaining it is as a whole. I mean, it's not like I thought it was a bad season. I feel like it's just a little bit lower than my expectations thought it was going to be. But I think on a rewatch, this is going to be actually a pretty solid season, which is why I honestly can't wait to rewatch this season, for the show to be done and to rewatch the season. But yeah, really, really fun episode. I don't really know I don't remember how I rated the other episodes because I don't really write that shit down, because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. But in terms of how much I actually enjoyed this episode, I would probably give it either a 9.4 out of 10 or a 9.6. I think it was genuinely a really, really good episode. It was a really fun episode. of the second third of this season, it's definitely the best so far. I liked episode 10 a lot, I liked episode 12 a lot, and I like this episode a lot. Of the first third, the best episode is definitely the Connie episode, so I don't know really which is going to be the best episode of the season. I feel like we still have a significant chunk of the season left to see before we decide on what's the best episode of the season. But yeah, I'm expecting that next episode is not going to be that great, but the one after that, which is going to be the mid-season finale, is going to be probably good, so yeah, I don't know. So that was that. Pretty fun episode. We're approaching the end of this part of the arc at least, so I'm curious where we're going to be going. And the reason why our character is going to end up fighting against the Commonwealth soldiers, because we do see them fight against the Commonwealth soldiers in the trailer, and it seems like that's going to happen next episode, so I'm curious why. But yeah, what did you guys think about this episode? Comment your thoughts down below and let's have a discussion about it. And also, before we end this video, I just want to give a huge shout out to my currently 3 patrons on Patreon: Omar Bridgman, Deadpool, and Shenches. Thank you guys for your support, I really appreciate it. It really means a lot to me that you have decided to support me and have continued to support me for such a long time. Hope you continue to enjoy my content and continue to support me going forward. Thank you very much. And now, before we end this video, I just want to talk about something to you guys very quickly, which some of you may or may have not noticed before or know about me, that being the fact that I am trans. And yes, this may come as shocking to some of you because I don't really flaunt it that much on my channel, or at least I feel like I don't. Outside of like my K-pop reactions, which is where I feel like the most comfortable being myself like this. And yeah, I am in fact trans. I'm not necessarily full-on male to female, but I heavily want to transition to being pretty female. I do consider myself more non-binary though, or maybe gender fluid would be the best descriptor as well, because I do have occasional moments where I feel fine being like just a normal guy, but most of the time, like right now, I do feel very dysphoric. And that's why I'm asking you guys for any help that you can give me, because my situation right now, I don't really see any way outside of you guys' help. Because, and this is gonna be kept short and concise, I live with my parents. They're never going to accept me as a trans person. They just never will. And as a matter of fact, back when I started the YouTube channel, I was actually kind of slightly starting my transition back then, with like starting to grow out my hair. I even got to DIY HRT, but because my parents started noticing certain things, like my behavior had changed a lot and my clothes had changed a lot, I kind of had to stop doing that because they were constantly nagging me about cutting my hair and just started to kind of be threatening in a certain way, and felt like they were ashamed of me and everything, and that just kind of stress just tired me out to the point where I just gave up. But as dysphoria goes, it just doesn't go away, you know. I still feel like this, and in fact it's somewhat been intensifying again recently, so I just wanted to share this with you guys. And again, I would really appreciate any amount of support you can give me in regards to this, because I just don't see any way out of this. Because even if I moved out of my parents' house and got myself a job and everything, that's just not gonna work for long-term planning, because once I transition, it's like I probably will not be able to get myself a job, because my country is very transphobic. Nobody gives a shit about LGBT people at all. So there's not even much I can do even in terms of transitioning here. So yeah, I don't know. I just would appreciate any amount of support you can give me, be it monetarily or in any way otherwise. And this is not about boosting my channel or anything, or guilt tripping you with my sob story.
I just wanted to get this off my chest and make my subscribers aware of the situation that I am in, and that I would appreciate anything that you guys can help me out with. It would mean literally everything. Like, for example, a friend that I made after starting this YouTube channel, my good friend Yuri, has been helping me out a lot. And I genuinely might have not been here if it wasn't for him showing up and befriending me. So yeah, this just went a little bit longer than I intended, but I would just really appreciate anything you can support me with. That's kind of ultimately what I'm trying to say.
And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please leave a like, subscribe. Also, check out the link in the description to my Twitter if you don't follow me over there, and to my Wattpad to post my stories, because in addition to doing all these videos on my channel, I'm also a writer. And if you want to enjoy my stories, or you simply enjoy my videos, you can head over to my Patreon or to my Coffee account, where I can pledge your support and help keep the channel going, help support me so I can keep writing stories you enjoy. But if you don't want to do it, that's completely fine. You can still help me out in other ways, like liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and especially sharing this video with somebody who you think might enjoy it. And I think this is pretty much it for this video, so hopefully I'm gonna see you in the next one. Bye!